Good afternoon and welcome to the final tutorial in this series, which is purely focused on basically wrapping up your maps and selecting your top 3 most suitable areas. Now up until step 24, as you can see sort of in my example case model, this is probably what you've got so far, where you wrapped up with your multi-part to single part and you got your final map. Now if I go into my map and I open this up, and if I scroll to the edges, for instance, I can see that there's sort of data overhanging on the edges, and that's simply to do with adding raster and vector data together. The raster cells which sort of overlap or underlap sort of the or overshoot or undershoot, I should say, the research area boundary. It's a good idea to, and you can tell sort of all along here, you can see there's little patches of data which aren't 100% accurate. It's a good idea to definitely clip the research area or the final map once more with the research area, just to trim those edges off. So I've done that, and basically what it comes down to, if I sort of zoom into this, you see that it sort of squares it off. This is the clean map, and this is the output from the multi-part to single part. Now it's quite possible that you've clipped your raster analysis after that you performed the raster to polygon. If you did so, then probably this isn't a step that you have to take into account. But if you see these edges which are a bit ragged, it's a good idea to clip the layer first. Just even if sort of just to look at sort of final area size. We know in week 1 and 2 we looked at what the total area size was. Going into the the final map, which is not the clean one. So I had my final map ready, which was the output from the multi-part to single part, and I clipped it and I called it final map clean, just to know that, hey, I've cleaned this up now, so I can sort of keep track of what I'm doing. If I look at final map and look at the shape area and go into statistics, I see at the right hand side here that the sum is 20,760,440. Okay, if I do the exact same thing for the clean map, so I've trimmed off the edges and I go into statistics, I see a familiar number which is 20,714,355. That's the same number as that you would find if you were to look at the surface area of the research area, obviously. Okay, so just pointing that out and just having that done. So we've clipped it and we've created a clean output. Now, what does that look like? Basically this, and I haven't done any of the colors, etc., because that is something that we can do later, or actually we can have a look at how we do that now. So if we go into symbology, so far what you've always done is sort of you've gone into your color, you've gone into properties, and you've selected the color that you want. There is a different way of doing it, and that's rather than using unique values, you can do graduated colors, and you'll see that initially it sort of hops to something odd. We know that we've got 4 classes in this case because I've got only 3 criteria in this, so it's got 0, 1, 2, 3. For you, it'd be 9 classes if you have 4 criteria each, so that's a 0 and then 1 to 8 potentially. So based on sort of final suitability, what we do is we open the color scheme and hit the color format, and in here you can do discrete color scheme, or you can do continuous color scheme, in which you get sort of a start color, an initial color to start with, and then your final color. So whatever you sort of add in this color, so if I would go from red to green, then hit OK, I would get these classes. So it's already set to 4 classes per chance, that's because I've got 4 values. If it is set to less than 4, make sure that you select the amount of classes that you actually need. So you'd go to 9. I don't have 9 classes, so it's not going to generate 9 classes, but this gives an accurate sort of and a simple view of what the map looked like. And as you can see, there's a couple of green areas here, and I want to select the best 3 areas from this map. Okay, so we're going to go back to our model. And I'm just going to show you a simple way to do it. And for those of you who sort of see like the step, you can skip a step in between. But I'm going to just show you how to select the top 3 areas. Now, the name already says it's selecting an area, so we use the tool select. So we're just going to use that as an input. And we're going to double click that tool. And we know in our attribute table, we have a final suitability, and that is scored from 0 to 3. Well, we can see that in the contents table here as well. So we've got a score that we can select based on, and we know like our top area would be something that has a value of 3. In your case, it could be a value 8, or maybe it's a value 7, but just find out sort of what that is. And then, so I'm going to make this final map, and I'm not going to call it clean anymore. I'm just going to call it final map suit 3, so that I know this is all suitability 3. And I'm going to ask it to select where field is final suitability and 3. Now it's going to create a new output, a new feature class with only value 3 output. So if I add that to my map, have a look at what that looks like, we see similar to, and it's a shame that I kind of lost my symbology here. But we'll fix that real quick. Go red, go green. If this is too fast for you, then scroll back a wee bit in the video, and then you can see how I did it previously. Okay, so if we look at sort of our map, switch off the selection. We can see these green areas here. We want to make a selection of these green areas. That's what we've done. These are now pink. Wonderful, wonderful pink. And now basically we want to select the largest areas containing, or the 3 largest areas containing the value 3. So if we open up the attribute table here, and there's with the step multi-part single part, you'll see that there's an original FID field that's being added. I'm quite okay with you just sort of saying hide field. It's not relevant information, and it can become confusing, and it's not of vital importance for your output. So I'm going to go ahead and say you can probably just hide that. If you want to unhide it for whatever reason, you can go into fields, so right click any of the columns, go into fields, and then you see your columns here, and you can click under visible original FID on, and then you can save that. You can see it's back again. But for now, definitely going to hide it just to make this so less, so little confusing as possible, as clear as I possibly can. So we can see we've got 46. We can see at the bottom here, 46 polygons containing the value 3. Now we want obviously the largest area with the value 3. So what we're going to do is, if you double click shape area, you'll see that it sorts itself by size. If we double click it again, see one time it sorts ascending, the other times it just sorts, the second time it will sort descending, meaning the largest area is going to be on top. So that's number 44, and my guess is that's going to be this one. We're just going to go ahead and select that and see. If you click on it on the map, we see number 44. So that's the one that we want. And then it's also number 17. That's another one that we like. And it's number 3. That is another one that we want. Okay, so we know the smallest of our top 3 is 177,999 square meters. Okay, that's a good size area. So in our model, we can, now that we know this, we can do one of 2 things. And what I'll do is I'll just use a second select just to sort of keep it very, very simple. And I'm going to now call this top 3 because this is my final selection. And I'm going to say where field shape area is greater than, and I'm going to go by, or what we could even do is greater than or equal to, and scroll down and select the 3rd largest one, which is that 177,999, which we can see here. select that, hit OK, and run the select tool. That's done. So the output that we should get is 3 polygons, the ones that we just looked at. We got 2. There we go. That's a little hiccup in the matrix there. So we've said greater than or equal to. All right, what we'll do then, we'll remove any decimals that are there, and say it will be greater than 177,999, because we know that the value there is greater than 177. There we go. Run that. We should get an output with 3 polygons here now, and there we go. That's our 3 polygons. So number 44, or used to be number 44, and this is why we don't use object IDs, yeah? Because what used to be 44 just now, that largest area, this one here, is now number 3. Yeah, so we don't select object areas or object IDs. Apologize. We select things by like unique characteristics that are independent of the number or name given to the polygon. Okay, so we now know that this is our largest area, which is huge, and then this is our second largest area, 189,000, and then this is the third largest area at 177,000. You could go off by saying now you could, for instance, use you could add new values to it, say 1, 2, 3, or you could even sort of show them by their shape area, and then in your map, once you sort of make the layout, you could say, right, this is third best area, this is second best area, and this is best area, and go off colors using this. Or you can add values to it with where you say top 1, top 2, top 3. However you do that, it's up to you, but this is how you make the selection of your top 3 areas. Now naturally, what we could do, now we've used select twice, we could simply make the first selection and then add a clause where we say where the final suitability score is equal to 3, and so in this case not or, but also here we go, and shape area is greater than, and we know that it was 177 something, 177,999. We'll do exactly the same as we did just now, take away the decimals, because we now know that it's greater than that, greater than 177,999. Hit OK, and then we run this and get the same output, which arguably it is sort of easier, but to do it in one step. But if you want to sort of keep it sort of well laid out and insightful, you could do it in 2. The result is exactly the same. So whether you do it in 1 select or 2, it's up to you. Just make sure that once you've done your initial selection of suitability score number 3, then see what your sort of biggest areas are, and then either alter the first selection that you made or add a second selection and just put in the surface area expression there. Alright, so that is how to select your top 3 areas and to wrap up your maps. Best of luck wrapping up your project for this week. And if there are any questions, as always, make sure to either ask them in class in a practical session, send us an email, or pop your question in Teams, and we'll do our best to answer it as quickly and as good as we possibly can. Thanks very much, and we'll see you out there. Bye.